Welcome to Send with Coffee and Boxing Gloves. I'm Kelly, and before I start this episode, I just want to give a quick content note. I'm going to be talking about parental mental health and some low moments. So, if that's something that you might find difficult right now, please take care while listening, or come back and listen another time. I will be sharing some places where you can go for support, and I will put all the details in the episode description as well. So, I think this is one of the more important episodes that I feel I'll be doing on this podcast. So, parental mental health. I feel as a society we are getting better at talking about mental health. I still think we can do more, but also I know from my experience that low mental health is reality for a lot of SEND parents and carers, because there's all sorts of things that are going on. There's all sort of emotions and feelings that you have to try and work through. So it is really, really difficult. Now, I do want to say that even now I have good days and I have bad days. On the whole, I'm okay. But it's taken a long time to get to this point. So I always made up my mind, and I have said it, that I'm not going to be sugarcoating. It's going to be reality. And this is a big part of that reality. Now, personally, I am diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and PTSD. Now, the PTSD, I cannot go into details as to why I have that. It's the only thing I cannot talk about on this podcast, because I'm getting panicked just thinking about it. Because that's a little box in the back of my head, which does occasionally go off like a jack in the box, all of a sudden. But the people that know why that's there know why that's there. But I can't talk about that. But I will openly talk about everything else. And I hope that you understand why. Oh, I think I need a sip of my coffee. Sorry. Just panicked me and my heart rate started to go up a little bit there. Oh, I'm okay. So with parental mental health, so it is an absolute roller coaster of emotions. So if you've listened to previous episodes, you would have heard how I've mentioned that my car is my safe space, and that I have cried, I have sung loudly in anger, I have screamed in that car to get it out, because sometimes you need to get it out. And when you have a child with additional needs, so like with Jessie, sleep is such a luxury on our house, and I've always said the whole way along, I can see why sleep deprivation is a form of torture, because you are so mentally and even physically worn out from the lack of sleep, from constantly being on high alert. I read a thing that said that autism parents have the same stress levels as frontline soldiers. The first time I read that, I was like, don't think so. However, as time's gone on, I can see it. I feel like I'm constantly stressed. I have got bald patches in my hair, which is hair loss from stress. And it's not growing back in those places. I am fortunate that I can cover it, but there's a few, and every now and again I notice that they're getting bigger. Um, so it is a constant sort of stress with the life you're living, and it is really, really hard. And what another thing that I wanted to do with the podcast was to make someone feel less alone. So I'm hoping that during this conversation that someone might listen to this and go, it's okay, I felt that way, or I'm not alone in this, there's other people feel like this. Because at the beginning I felt very, very isolated. um, it was really difficult because there was no time for me, because I was taking Jessie to her mainstream school, didn't know when I'd get a phone call to come pick her up if she was asleep or had a meltdown. Um, so not knowing how much time I had in the day while she was at school, and then coming home and having to deal with paperwork, having to research things, having to print things, just all of that for a long time. So I did end up feeling quite isolated, and it'd be like a relief just to go and do a food shop quickly. But I had to do it quickly because I didn't know if I was getting the phone call to come and pick her up. So I was rarely out of the house except when it was taking Jessie to school or picking her up. And that's very isolating as well. And then when you put on top of that that you're awake at 1, 2, 3 in the morning, and that's it until you take her to school, or she might be asleep on the sofa. Well, I'm not going to wake her up to get her to school, not the mainstream anyway. I'll let her sleep and I'll bring her when she's awake. So then you're losing time again. And I've never been very good at being up at that time, taking her to school, coming home for a nap. Because I have anxiety, yes, I can set an alarm. That alarm will wake me up, but I can't settle enough to go to sleep, because what if I don't wake up to that alarm and there's no one to get Jessie? So it is really kind of difficult with that sort of side of it. Um, and it does wear you down. I had a bit of a moment, um, which apparently it's a dissociative episode. And it was about 3 o'clock in the morning, and Jessie was not very happy. She was getting quite angry about a lot of things, and I just broke. I just sobbed and sobbed. And it's the kind of sobbing where you can't catch your breath. And my brain was like, I don't want to see you growing up, which made me sob even more. And then it was like someone flicked a switch in my head, and I just couldn't do anything. I couldn't talk, I couldn't move. I felt like if I tried to move, I was wading through treacle. Everything was kind of slow motion. I couldn't even look at my phone. Um, and Rob woke up and he was like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Have you taken like a sleeping tablet or something?" And I was like, "No." And then luckily he was at home and he got Jessie ready and he took her to school. And all I did was I was sat on the end of the bed, and I just put my head down, lifted my legs up, and I went to sleep for like 2 hours. And then I woke up with a banging headache. And then I went back upstairs to bed and slept for another couple of hours. And that was scary to me because I just felt I had no control over anything. Um, so it can happen, and I am trying to be better at looking after my mental health because of this. Because there have been times where I have been very, very low, and I've been sat in the kitchen, which is where I'm normally sat, and I've just felt so low and just someone stop the world. I just want to get off. And then the flip side of that in your brain is I need to live forever because Jesse needs me forever because no one else is going to be able to do this. So it's a very big contradiction in your head, and it is difficult at times. And like I say, I still have low moments now, but I'm very lucky that I do have a good support system. Like my dad, bless him, um, I I can ring him and just go, Dad, I'm struggling, tell me something funny. Or, he'll send me random cat videos. So he understands it. So I can call him and go, Dad, I'm really struggling today. Can you just talk to me for a bit? And he will talk to me. And he'll say something funny, or we'll talk about the F1 or things like that. But I know that he's there. Likewise, my stepmom, she's brilliant as well. I tend to message her rather than ring her. But I'll message her and I'll be like, I'm really struggling today. And she'll come back with something, like a random story about something, or, we'll talk about food, or, we have conversations, and it helps to keep you out of that sort of low part that is trying to win. I have also rung the Samaritans. That was hard because there was a part of me was like, I don't want to tie up one of the Samaritans. There's probably someone that's, in a worse sort of low moment than I am. Do I want to tie somebody up talking to me? And I did. I rang them and I spoke to a very, very nice lady. She didn't force anything. She was just understanding. And I needed that in that moment. I really did. Not that I would act on any thoughts, but I don't want to get to that point, which I think is very important. I think it's very important to look after your mental health, to try and avoid the low moments. But if you are in a low moment, reach out to anybody. There's the Samaritans. You can call them anytime on 116 123, and that's a completely free call. Obviously, anything you say to them is confidential. Shout as well. You can text the word shout to 85258. So if you don't feel confident speaking to somebody on the phone, you can talk to somebody via text message. All of those messages are free on all the networks, so it's not going to cost you anything. And there's also a website that I found recently. It came up in my Facebook feed, and it's by a guy called Ben. And he lost his younger brother to suicide. And the website is called reasonstostay.org. And I'm going to start welling up talking about it. So he's done this website, and when you go onto it, it's a letter from a stranger, and they're giving you reasons to stay. And some of the words are absolutely beautiful. Like people saying about, yes, you have good days, you have bad days, but look, the good days are around the corner. And there was one that I said, that I read, and it said, the dawn is coming and it's going to be a beautiful day tomorrow. So please stay to see it. And that kind of hit me. But that's another thing. I will put all of the information in the episode description of things that help. And I do want to say, there are times where I can laugh, and I know very much with my mental health that if I'm not singing out loud in the car, I'm struggling. Because when I am in a happier mood, I am singing along in the car. Really badly, I'll be honest. You thought the cat interrupting was interesting on I think it was the first episode, I sound worse than the cat interrupting a podcast when I'm singing. But I enjoy it, and it's a good release. And I think with the weather getting better now, like it is a beautiful sunny day outside. There is not a cloud in the sky. Windows down. Some music on, not current stuff because I'm old, but stuff that I liked when I was younger. Pink, very much. I listen to a lot of Pink. Windows down, sunglasses on, music up, as loud as it will go, singing away. And I do enjoy those moments, but I do think you do need to have a lot of self care, and it's not selfish to have self care, because I was very much, or like, I can't do that. I need to make sure Jessie's okay. I need to do this for Jessie. This needs to be done for Jessie. And it's only when I had a carers assessment, which I will talk about on a future episode, was, oh yeah, I've got to look after myself, because if I'm not okay, how can I look after her, especially with her needs and how she is and everything. So I do get out more now. It's definitely easier because the DLA is sorted, the EHCP is sorted. She now goes to a school where it's very rare I get a phone call during the day, and if it is, it's straight. The first thing they say is, "Everything's fine." Good. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Carry on. What's up? And it might be, Jessie's banged her head, but she's okay. We're keeping an eye on her, and then I go and pick her up at the normal time. I've not had, a phone call to go, she's had a meltdown. I mean, obviously, the school she attends now is for autistic children, so they know all about that. They've got all the sensory rooms, sensory rooms, sensory items. They have OT, they have speech and language, so they know what each child needs. They know, obviously, when Jess is starting to get a bit dysregulated, they know what to do with her to help her to then calm her down again. So that is a big thing. Obviously means that I'm not fighting the council clowns anymore, because that's all in place and that's all okay and that's going really well. So I do have more time. So I do try and go out for coffee more. I, like I've said before, I've got some wonderful neighbours. One of my neighbours has asked me to look after her cat, which I'm very happy to do. Very much the cat fan. Um, and she said she's got one of these really nice coffee machines, and it's one where you put the beans in and then it makes you a really nice coffee. And she's like, I'll show you how to use it. So if you do want to come over when you see the cat and you want to just, sit for a while, you're more than welcome to. And I'm like, thank you very much. And she bribed me with chocolate, which she didn't need to do, because I'd have happily done it anyway. But the bonus is coffee. We know that's a survival tool, and chocolate, amazing. And then my other neighbour, as we know, next door, again, just really, really supportive, and like she's seen me outside and she knows if I'm about to cry, and she'll literally just give me a hug. And it's nice to have people like that around that, support you. And the thing is, I think a lot of the time, I think when people do something for us as SEND parents, I don't think they necessarily realise the massive impact, because as a SEND parent, you are used to feeling isolated, judged. Oh, the judging. So when someone does something, and in their world, that's like a tiny little thing that they're doing, like completely inconsequential. However, like to me and to us, massive thing. So that, is obviously absolutely amazing, to have that support. I mean, the isolation, even now, there are times where it kind of hits me. The grief as well. But I think the grief hit me more because I wasn't expecting it. um, because I'm sure we've all got grief from losing, relatives, because that's a part of life. But I wasn't expecting the grief that I felt when we got the diagnosis, because I still had my baby girl. She's still healthy. She's still absolutely adorable when she's sat giggling at no idea what. But I felt so much grief, and I had to kind of like Google it and try and find out about it, of why am I feeling grief? And then I'm feeling guilty that I'm grieving this future that I planned, that I now don't have. And I feel guilty that I'm grieving. And it took a while, but I did find something, and it said about your feelings are valid no matter what they are. And I thought, yeah, yeah, because we are all human. I know there's this perception that, especially autism parents, that we're superhuman. We're not. We're really not. We are just human at the end of the day. We just have to be strong all the time, whether we like it or not. And sometimes that's hard to carry. And it is really difficult, because you do spend a lot of time talking about your child in the negative. But then I feel like when we have a small win, like again, to someone that maybe doesn't have a child with additional needs, you might be like, well, my child did that like 4 years ago. But to us, it's a big thing, and that's why we try and celebrate a lot when Jessie does things. And like I've said, she she does giggle away to herself sometimes, and she'll be spinning on her seat, and she'll be living her best life, looking at Dougie books, and every now and again going, "Hi Holly, hi Ben." Which again, I just find it so funny, the fact that she puts different inflections on the voices, so you could tell they're different characters. So there are good times. um, and I think one of the other things I really struggled with was judgment, because you feel like you're being judged all the time by everybody, even when you're not, because that's what happens. You try and go in a supermarket, and like Jessie's like, absolutely not. Like, she really has something against Asda. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the lights. I don't know if it's the fact that it's like an open ceiling, so it looks like sort of metal, like a bit like a plane hanger type thing. Or if it's the music, but literally we can walk her in a few steps, and then she's like, no, we're getting out now. But Lidl and Sainsbury's, absolutely fine. So I'm not sure sort of, what it is. But then, of course, trying to go into Asda, which I don't do anymore, by the way. Um, and then you're getting people and they're looking at you. And either Rob or I will wear the sunflower lanyard, and it says I care for somebody that has additional needs. Because some people do pay attention to that lanyard. You can get it, I think it's Hidden Disabilities is the website. You can get like a sunflower lanyard. I will double check that and pop that into the links as well. And yeah, being judged by people because they look and they think you've got a naughty child. Well, you haven't got a naughty child. You've got a child that can't cope with the circumstances that they're in. And you do try and do things. You're like, I'm really trying. I'm really trying. And then it's like, you do feel judged even when you're not being judged. But that's just because I think that's a sort of default mindset sometimes. But one of the best ones, I laugh about it now because it's hilarious. Uh, because Jessie has a lazy eye. So she has to be seen by the orthoptist. Didn't even know that was a word or a profession until we got the letter through. And then she has to see the ophthalmologist as well. So that's all at the hospital. And there was one time when I'd taken her in on my own, and I had my lanyard on, and there was a waiting room, and it was sort of older people. I'm not generalising here, I'm just saying this was the audience that was there. And there were some tuts and there were some looks, because Jessie's having a meltdown because she doesn't want to be there. She wants us to go. I'm trying to keep her there. And there's some more tuts and sort of people looking. And I literally shouted at this whole waiting room and went, "She's autistic. She can't help it." And then, funnily enough, a couple of people's heads sort of went down a little bit. And then this woman came over to me and she's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm really sorry. Like, she's autistic. She's not happy." And she went, "I know. Are you okay?" And I could have cried on that lady. I literally could have cried on her. And I was just like, "Yeah, thank you." I was like, "It's just difficult." She's like, "I know it is." But it was so nice in that moment. And I'd like, to think that one day people won't judge, but people always judge. And I'm very much of the opinion that if I was in the neurotypical club, then I wouldn't understand autism. I wouldn't understand meltdowns. I wouldn't understand just how hard it is to be a SEN parent. I wouldn't understand that you have to fight everybody to get the help. I wouldn't understand any of it. So I get it why people can be like that. But again, it makes you feel like you're failing as a parent. And I've felt like that quite a lot, that I'm failing as a parent. Because I do question myself a lot. When I had my carers assessment, the lovely care worker, I need to message her actually. I haven't spoken to her for a while. Because they do like events in the local area. I was very excited to go bowling one time, and then I couldn't because Jessie was off poorly. So she was off school, so I couldn't go bowling, which I was a little bit upset about. But they do a lot of events. And when we were first talking through the assessment, I'd said about obviously all the fighting that I'd done for Jessie. Obviously, if you've listened to the episode about our EHCP journey, you'll hear about me threatening to go down to the council offices. I'm so proud of that still. So you can laugh about these things after the event. And I said to her about it, and she's like, "That's a lot that you've done." And I turned around to her and I went, "Isn't that what any parent would do?" And she was like, "No." And I was like, there is nothing I would not do for that little girl. Absolutely nothing. Like, she is my number one priority. And don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. There are times where she is having a massive, massive meltdown and she's hitting me, she's headbutting me, and I will scream, "Stop it." And I don't mean to, but it's been going on for a long time. I have patience to a point, and then it just gets me, and then I shout, "Stop it," and then I feel really guilty, and sometimes I cry because I've just done that. But I try not to beat myself up because I am human, and it's like a constant pressure cooker, and it's really hard to keep it together sometimes. Especially when she's hit me. If she's caught me really badly, like when she catches me on my nose, that really, really hurts because that's a lot of force on there. And it is hard sometimes, especially when you've had like the whole day of it and you've been dealing with it on your own. And because Jessie's not only autistic, but she has this PDA, this pathological demand avoidance profile as well, it means you can't tell her what to do like you would with a neurotypical child, or be able to kind of make her understand like you would with a child that maybe was just autistic and didn't have a PDA profile. Because anything that you say to her that she perceives as a demand, her nervous system freaks out and goes into fight or flight. So that's where a lot of the meltdowns come from. Plus, also, I believe, well, I feel, I should say, that she also is ADHD as well, because she does not stop. She is always on the go. She's never pays attention to anything on telly for more than a few minutes anymore. Sometimes it's a matter of seconds. She's like, no, I don't want this. No, I don't want this. No, I don't want this. Oh, she's not saying that to me. It's the royal wave, or the royal push, as I like to call it, in that she'll push your hand up to the remote. Okay, you want something different on. Likewise, sometimes she'll do it where if we're in the car, because she sits behind the passenger seat, so I'm driving the car, and like if we're stopped in traffic, I might turn around to her and I go, are you all right? And she will literally just close her eyes really tightly and then look away and then just raise her hand up as if she's giving me a high five, but she's not. It's more of a stop talking to me, slave. Which is really funny at times. It's like the royal no. So again, you know, you can laugh about these things, but there are the times where you're like, oh, really? And like, there are times where I look at her and I'm just like, can I send you back? Can I have a less aggressive model? Is that possible? And I know a lot of people say about, you know, children and stuff, oh, I wouldn't change them. I would be waving that magic wand faster than you can say Harry Potter. And that's not, you know, a thing of me saying I don't like Jessie how she is. It's I don't know what Jessie's future's like. I don't know what our future's going to be like. I don't know if she will ever be able to talk and hold conversations, and, you know, is she going to be able to get a job one day, and all of that. And that's why I would wave the magic wand to make her life easier. Yes, it would make my life easier, but as I've said, my priority is always her. Always her. And I think if you are a parent that's going through this, please, please, please know that you're not alone, because you're not. There's a lot of us out there. Please find support. If you need it, there is support out there. And like I said, I will put some links down. I also want to say, you need to look after yourself. That one took a long time for me to reconcile in my own head, because if I'm at my limit, if I feel I'm breaking down, I can't be there for Jessie, and that's what she needs. So definitely, you know, try a new hobby, or if you've got hobbies that you haven't been able to kind of do very often because of the situation you're in, try and make time for it. I very much like doing cross stitch because it helps my anxiety, because it's counting and it's very repetitive, and I enjoy doing that. I can't do it so much when Jess is around, because I might do a couple of stitches and she wants something different on the telly. But I try and make time to do that. Likewise, every night when I go to bed, I read my Kindle. And the reason I read my Kindle and not a physical book is because I might read 1 or 2 pages and then fall asleep. So it does take me ages to get through a book, but I don't lose my page, because I used to find that really annoying with books. Wasn't such a fan of the Kindle. I was like, am I going to like one? Absolutely love one. I think it's the 3rd one I've had now in many, many years. So I do make the point to read, and I do read things that are completely different from what our life is like, as well, just as a sort of an escape. And also, you know, trying to watch something on telly as well. We're lucky we have a telly in the kitchen, which was attached to the Skybox, but is no longer attached to Skybox because we had a smart TV in the living room and Jessie headbutted it, broke it. So we've had to bring down our old, very old telly that's already got a line down it from where she hit it before. So the Skybox is on there, so it's not on the telly in the kitchen, but luckily it's smart telly, so I can watch sort of Discovery Plus, or I can watch Netflix. I think there's some other streaming things on there, Disney Plus. So yeah, just trying to kind of just get out of it. Like, I love Bridgerton. That's such an escape. And I love it. And it's just, I will say the books are better because I've read the books. But as a series, and that's something nice that I can be like, yeah, I'm going to sit, I'm going to have my coffee, and I'm going to watch a bit. So it is very, very important to look after yourself. And I feel like such a hypocrite saying that, because I'm not quite there yet. I'm getting better at it, but there are still times where I'm just like, I just can't. I just have to do this. I just have to sit, um, rather than engaging in something which would make me feel better. Um, but I just want to, reiterate again, you are not alone, and do not feel guilty for anything that you feel, because anything you feel is completely valid, and you are allowed to feel that because you're human. Having a child like Jessie has changed me. It absolutely has changed me. I used to avoid confrontation. I'd be like, oh, you've said no, okay. Um, but now I'm like, no, you're no, not having that. Um, I'm still not that confrontational, to be honest. Still, every now and again, it scares me. Um, but it does change you as a person, and we are only human at the end of the day. We just have a bit more of a battle in our lives than, say, a neurotypical parent may have. So I am sorry that this is a heavier one, but I feel it's an important one. Because I think we need to be more open about our mental health, and it's okay to not be okay. And if you do feel like you're not okay, reach out for support. So I think we'll probably look to bring it to a close now. So if there's anything I've said that maybe is hit a bit close to home, you're not the only one. It is isolating, but there are a lot of us going through it. Just, there's probably a lot of people not saying it out loud, because it could be like admitting failure, and it's not a failure. It's really not. But I will say this, if you are struggling, please, please, please reach out for support. Friends, family, Facebook groups. I've already mentioned Samaritans, Shout, and Reasons to Stay, which again, all of the information on how to contact them will be in the episode description. There'll be links as well. Please reach out. There's no judgment from these places, no judgment at all. And as I've said, Samaritans, you can call them, speak to somebody on the phone. Shout, you can text if you don't feel you want to speak to somebody on the phone. And Reasons to Stay, if you just need to read something that reminds you how wonderful humanity can be, I recommend going there. But likewise, if you've listened to this and you think, I need to get help, but now's not the time for you to get the help, that's okay. Maybe look for help later. Maybe look for help tomorrow. Just take one step at a time, because that's all we can do. But the most important thing is for you to be around, because it's a beautiful world and it's a beautiful life, and it is hard at times, but there's so many positives, and that's what is good to focus on. I nearly didn't make it through that. Could you tell? Starting to swell up. Yeah. But honestly, thank you for listening. Obviously, this is a very, very personal episode. But again, I thought it was an important one to put out there. And I will finish it by saying, overall, I'm okay. But for now, I am going to leave that here. I'm going to be back with something a little bit lighter next time. We're going to have a coffee and chat issue coming up next. And that will be a lot more light-hearted, rather than obviously heavy how this episode may have come across. But I am very much looking forward to pressing the stop button on this, so as I can go and put the kettle on. I'm going to make a coffee and I am going to go and sit outside in the glorious sunshine for 10 minutes while I have my coffee. And then I'm probably going to get some housework done, because that never ends either. But again, thank you for listening. Any support is in the description below. And if you want to, please feel free to follow or subscribe. That way you'll get alerted to new episodes whenever they are uploaded. So look after yourselves, everybody, and I will be back soon.